Gar for joining in, running for assembly. Thank you, Sally. Thank you, Queese. Thank you, everybody, for logging in on Instagram. I'm live right now with Sean Loloee. You guys can't see him, but there he is right there. Say hi, Sean, to the people one time on Instagram. There you go. And we are also live on Facebook and YouTube as well. Thank you, Financial Literacy Center, for tuning in with us. We're also live on Mama Clark's Instagram, the Yayos groups. Thank you for all the groups for tuning in. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Asana Hands, for tuning in. All right, so we got 3 screens I'm looking at here, so it's going to be hard for me to juggle, but we're live and we see everybody and we hear everybody. I can answer your questions and comments one at a time if they're peace and love. Thank you, Mr. Rice. If anybody has a vulgar or a misleading or mean question, I will kick you out and block you, and that'll be it. So make sure we come in here with love, because everybody loves everybody. Now I'm gonna do a solo layout real quick, and I'm here because we've had a recent article within between our council member Sean Loloee and about our council member Sean Loloee from an op-ed writer at the Sacramento Bee by the name Yusuf. I've never heard of Yusuf, but he wrote a op-ed saying this. He said, "You have to be listening closely to catch it. Sacramento City Council was minutes away from approving a deal that will convert a Best Western motel into supportive housing for the homeless when Councilman Sean Loloee made a stunning revelation. According to the SACB, this is what Sean said. As much as I'm not a fan of affordable housing, this is a slam dunk. The first year, Councilman said last week before the unanimous vote, according to the Sacramento Bee. That's right, not a fan of affordable housing. It's the sort of statement that can get you condemned in a liberal city such as Sacramento, where local housing policies like ending single family zoning, easing accessory dwelling unit regulations, and streaming low-income developments are widely celebrated. This is the op-ed writer. He said, I called and emailed Loloee to offer him a chance to explain, but he didn't respond. That doesn't reflect well on him, considering that he ran for public office, and being accessible and accountable comes with the job. Despite this, it's important to understand who Loloee is and who he represents. The freshman District 2 representative serves Del Paso Heights, Hagenwood, and the Roseville Road corridor, tough neighborhoods where low-income housing is needed as much as any area in the city. Residents and business owners in North Sacramento acutely face every economic challenge in California. Folks here are working class or poor, consumed by the rigors of simply surviving day-to-day life. They've been here for generations, but lack generational wealth. District 2 is made up of essential workers, and the biggest change families experienced during the pandemic was the overnight disruptions of their livelihoods when public health orders forced them to stay home. Still, the context of Loloee's disturbing admission last week, speaking up for nearby residents who may be averse to near homeless shelters, reveals who he is and how much he has learned being an elected leader. Sean Loloee, I'm going to bring you in, brother. And that's a lot in there.
Yeah,
it's a lot.
True.
I want you to respond to that. If you want to respond in its entirety, take your time. The floor is yours.
I appreciate it. Hey, thank you so much. And you and I, we've known each other for some time now. So, this is again a perfect example of why I think we live in probably the best country on the planet, and that's the United States. A country that someone can simply exercise their freedom of speech, freedom of press, put an article together that lacks a lot of facts and merits. And on top of that, my office was never contacted. My phone never rang by this individual. In fact, I called him on Friday, and I thanked him for the article. And I also asked him that if he has any time, if between this week or next week, I need about an hour or 2 hours of his time for us merely to just drive around District 2. And then I'll let him kind of see the factual about his article. To me, this article, again, that was the right of Mr. Yusuf. So I have no issues. But I do find the article somewhat troubling. So um, my statement from day one has been, when it comes to District Two, we need affordable housing, we need workforce housing, and we need market rate housing. Historically, areas like District 2 have been looked over or simply have been flooded with affordable housing. Hence, the economic engine of District 2 is not going full speed. The only way we can change this engine is that we have a great balance, right? So we do have affordable housing in this district. We have quite a few projects that have been completed, and few projects are coming in with affordable housing. I'm very proud to say we also have market rate housing coming to this community. So the idea that District 2 should only have affordable housing because of the income level of this district, it's somewhat of an insult, I think, to the residents of the district. Because if we are just going to promote affordable housing for this district, then we are setting for this district to always have its economic challenges, not have enough job opportunities, have a high unemployment rate, have a district which lacks in park funds, because any project that comes, any residential project that goes to a district, they have to, their fees, a good portion of their fees goes for our park maintenance. However, when it's an affordable housing, they don't have to pay for, or those fees are waived. Again, um, if anyone is going to take my statement, I just ask that the whole statement needs to be addressed or printed. I am for market rate housing. That's what we need in this district right now. I'm for affordable housing, and I'm definitely for workforce housing as well. But there has to be a balance. My comment that I made, and it's interesting that in the same article, um, the same writer has addressed that the hotel that was picked by one of my colleagues as to create as a shelter for our unhoused, it did receive a unanimous decision. And a unanimous decision means 100% of the council voted in favor of this project. So that's what I didn't find very accurate with this article. District 2 is a phenomenal district, but the fact remains, it's a district that has had the least amount of investment from the city in it. It's a district that's been overlooked for 20, 30 years. And it's a district that you have specific policies that might work for certain areas of the city and it might benefit them. But for some reason, it has literally the opposite effect in our district. So, I just want to make sure that as long as the facts are stated, I'm fine. And I stand behind what I said. But just make sure that if I'm quoted, it's an exact quote and not just a little skip. And whoever wants to talk to me or talk about my district, also try to know the district, or get in your car and drive around. When you drive through my district, there are areas like the Paso Boulevard or areas on Marysville Boulevard. You have all these businesses that are boarded up. This was not done because of some result of COVID, but good portion result of lack of that economic stimulus that any business needs. If we want to have successful businesses in this district, such as restaurants, or whatever, boutiques, what have you, we got to make sure that these businesses can get support. And if we just want to pick one district as exclusively affordable housing, Well, I think that's a pretty discriminatory view to have about an entire district.
I think so too. I think it's a deeper and bigger conversation
Oh, absolutely.
and than what they're saying, because even though I hear about affordable housing, I didn't hear nothing about transitional housing. I don't believe you could have them without each other. I believe we're in transitional housing so we can get to affordable housing, and if we're in affordable housing, hopefully we're trying to get to the market rate
Sure.
housing.
And keep one thing in mind is that in my district, um, market rate rents are similar, or if not lower, than affordable housing rents, let's say in downtown.
Hmm.
So, you know, I represent a district that you can still purchase a house that's 1,800 square feet on 9,000 square feet of land, 3 bedroom, 2 bath for the high 300s, low 400s. So, if you go one district next to me, District 1, well, you can't get anything like that.
Hmm.
If you go downtown, good luck. What I just described to you as a high 3 to mid 4s in downtown would be, in the low 8s. In other parts of the city would be in the 600s. So to make that general assumption that District 2 needs exclusively affordable housing, I think that's an insult to the entire district. Because when you even approach the residents of District 2, and District 2 has some of the most resilient and passionate residents that I've ever seen, right? So even when COVID came on upon us, this is a district that mobilized, and the neighbors were watching each other. When it came to on our unsheltered population, this is a district that has one of the largest unsheltered camps in the city, and that's the Roseville camp.
Yeah, the Roosevelt.
It's the same district that we have the highest amount of RVs and cars within a district. It's in our district right now. And our unsheltered population, as much as, I hate to say this, since the pandemic has started, that population has increased, which is telling me that the population is not increasing from our district, that the writer feels like the residents or the population of our district needs affordable housing. This population of unhoused is increasing from other parts of our county that's coming to our district. And yet the very residents that for the last 20 years have been overlooked, discriminated against by various different policies that have been um, um, enforced by the city, yet the citizens, the residents of this district, they still mobilize to make sure that we can help the homeless, whether RVs parked in our residential areas or in our business district areas. Just recently, you're hearing some complaints because the amount, it's not controllable anymore. It's gone to a point that there's no control of it. And now there's that concern piece that's coming from local businesses and local residential. This doesn't mean that I'm against unsheltered. This all says is that we have, hey, SOS, we have an issue in this district with the increase of the unhoused because we just don't have enough services. But we're still going and we're still helping out as much as possible. This district was one of the first districts that, as soon as the mayor announced his the master siting plan, this district was one of the first districts that came up with different sites for our unsheltered population. So again, I think the article was a little bit harsh, a little bit one-sided, and a little bit catering to a certain ideology that I'm not, maybe I don't understand it or I'm not a big fan of. But here we are today.
No, thank you, brother, for that. Thank you for that response to that article. I appreciate that. And because they said so much in the article.
Yeah.
a lot was said in that article.
Right. So also, this gentleman wanted to discuss about the business or entrepreneur possibilities for Black and Brown businesses. And again, I find it very um, troubling that the minute we talk about entrepreneurship of the Black and Brown communities, this particular individual, um, he had concerns of cannabis and how this industry is a great opportunity for the Black and Brown entrepreneurs, and I'm trying to delay it or stop it. That's the furthest thing from the truth. Number one, I find it a complete insult that when we think about entrepreneurship, businesses, and business ownership, when it comes to a specific community, we link that community to cannabis only. And that's an insult. That's number one. Number two, the reason that I have, and this was from day one when I was campaigning, one of the top 5 items that the community had major concerns on is the expansion of the cannabis business in our district. Is the cannabis grows, manufacturing or cultivation being right there in residential areas. And when I tell you residential area, Savante, is that when I tell you avenue, how wide do you think this particular street is going to be? It's an avenue, so it can't be that wide, right?
Yeah,
it might be a little bit smaller than a street because it's an avenue, right? Mm-hmm. So you tell me, is it fair for the children and the parents that have renting or bought a house on an avenue, that one side it's all residential where families have children, and directly across the street you have nothing but cannabis cultivation warehouses?
Yeah, that's not that don't look good right by the kids.
Then my next question is, I have nothing against this industry, zero. Yeah, it's legal. Yeah. I'm all in.
You just don't want it next to the children.
My question is to this gentleman that writes the article and that group that he's trying to please. Why is it that the cannabis or weed, why is it that we're so much for normalizing it for the youth, for the Black and Brown youth, whereas we don't do these things when we step out of districts like District 2? Why is it that there are some districts in our city that don't have any businesses related to cannabis? Right? And why is it that between 3 districts, we pretty much carry probably 95% of the cannabis business? District 6, District 2, and District 3. All right. So if you look at the demographic of District 6 and District 2, you get a fairly a match. Okay. If you look at District 3 is uniquely situated where it splits, right? You got one side of it where it's attached to my district with Northgate Boulevard, and then it goes down to Sac State and East Sac. So District 3 being the 3rd highest cannabis carrier. Well, where do you think the majority of District 3 cannabis are falling into?
I don't know. Tell me.
Well, it's a very diverse district.
Yes.
From East Sacramento to Northgate. Mm-hmm. Well, I'll let you figure it out. I'll let you Google it and see where the industry, the concentration is in. Right?
I can imagine it's in D2.
Well, exactly, right? So then then these questions come up, right? We had a $20 million revenue from the cannabis industry last year, right? Which is great.
Do you think, Sean, sorry to cut you off, but do you think that right now, because you got so many fights going on in District 2 on you right now, And sometimes I feel like since you're a businessman who's taking on this fight for the people, for your community, there's a lot of pushback against you.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
I think because I think what it is that Sacramento was just named the most unaffordable um, place to get a house for housing, the most unaffordable in the nation for housing when it pertains to it. Um, Now, when you say these things towards affordable housing, saying you're not a fan of affordable housing, and then this big slam report comes out saying Sacramento has the highest when it comes to unaffordable housing, yeah, then how do you understand people's pushback with the
Sure.
statement? Do you understand where
So,
they're coming from?
absolutely. And here's the thing. If I came and said no to affordable housing, absolutely not, not, I'm 100% against it, I can understand the pushback.
Yes, sir.
But when I say you cannot um, assume that one district in city of Sacramento should exclusively have affordable housing, then you're working against the residents of that district.
Mm.
So what is the advantage of that now?
Mm.
We're helping one sector, but we're going to destroy another sector.
So
I mean,
do you feel like the affordable housing will destroy the business sector in District Two?
if you exclusively go, absolutely.
Okay.
Because when you talk affordable housing, the model of affordable housing is they create certain percentage of the medium income,
Okay.
right? So they come in and they say we do 30%, 50%, 70%, or 80%, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, if the medium income of a district is roughly between, let's say, $30,000 a year,
Mm-hmm.
right? If we just fill up all of our construction or development exclusively with affordable housing, that you have to be at a certain pay schedule to qualify for it. So, and keep in mind, the lower the income rate, the more of a tax credit the developer is going to get,
Mm-hmm.
right? So again, your developers are making millions of this on these affordable housing, right? Um, But then once they come in, they build their, houses or apartments, which by the way, right now, an affordable apartment building today in Sacramento has a price tag of approximately $600,000 per door. Okay, so a 100-unit apartment complex, affordable, is a $60 million project
Mm-hmm.
that the developer gets a substantial amount of tax credits that brings this amount to the bare minimum with a gap. That gap comes to city council, we vote on it, and we fulfill that gap. That can be 1 million, it can be 3 million, it can be 5 million. Okay? So, and for an affordable building to get approved for these taxes, it could take a year and a half to 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
And then an application might get kicked back. It's not approved, so they have to resubmit it again. But at the end of the day, I never said I am against affordable housing. I am against affordable housing in areas that their economic engine is literally on the last gear, and yet we don't want to help that engine. We don't want to bring businesses to the community. We don't want to create jobs. We don't want our parks to be just like the parks in some other areas of our city. Why? Why don't our residents in the district who deserve better? Now, I am very vocal about this because I only answer to my residents,
Yes.
the people that elected me, right? I don't answer to special interest groups. I don't answer to corporations out there. I answer to my constituents. And my job is to make sure I make the decisions that not only it's going to benefit our community today, but also 10 years from now.
Mm-hmm.
Because I guarantee you, if 10, 20 years ago these conversations were on the table, District 2 would have been a very, very strong, um, strong district as far as businesses wanting to go there. I mean, if you look at the history of our district, you go back, 40, 50 years ago, Del Paso Boulevard was the place to be. It was a destination area.
Mm.
And look at it today. What caused it? Well, I'll tell you what caused it. When we decided to turn off the investment in the community, when we decided to let one district take the back seat to the other projects within the city, and we said, we'll come back to you later. When we turned our back, when we saw crime rate increasing, yet we didn't come to it and say, why is it increasing?
Mm.
We turned our back when we saw that unemployment rate is soaring in this district, yet we still said, you know what, they can handle it. Let's just throw some more of our issues from the city to them.
So Sean, what is, in your opinion, what is the biggest problem you've been facing since being elected, Sean? What is your biggest, what keeps you up at night the most? I know you got the cannabis, you got the homelessness, you got the affordable housing, you got the crime rate, you got the cleaning on the streets, the trash on the streets. You got so many things going on in that district. What is the biggest frustration and the problem you have within District 2?
Institutional racism.
Mm.
Incompatible land use. That's my number one issue. So if we didn't have zoning issues within our district, if we didn't have incompatible land use within our district, we wouldn't be having this conversation when it comes to cannabis or anything else like that. Yes. When we have mechanic shops that are in the middle of a residential area, what happens? We talk about economic injustice. We're talking about social injustice. We should also talk about environmental injustice. When we have more liquor stores than some of our other districts around us, when we have cigarette shops, when major stores are not even carrying cigarettes anymore, when we still have shops, liquor shops that stay open till 2:00 in the morning, 7 days a week. If you go back in the 80s, districts like District 2 were flooded with liquor stores. 90s came the check cashing facilities. Late 90s came the cigarette shops or tobacco shops. Today they're coming cannabis shops. At what point are we going to take a step back and go, maybe some of the decisions that we're making for the entire city, maybe we need to look at certain districts like District 2 that have been overlooked for past 20 and 30 years, that some of these policies might actually damage district like District 2.
I agree.
That's what I'm fighting.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So that's what's keeping me up at night.
I hear you.
Right?
I hear you.
When I have kids that they're not walking on sidewalk to go to school, they have to walk out on the street to go to school. So before you want to talk to me about affordable housing, come and talk to me about my kids that are walking out on the middle of the street when cars are going by, and yet we cannot afford a sidewalk. The entire city of Sacramento as a whole can afford one speed bump per year per district, right? So we all got our speed bump this year. Now, guess what? If you think one speed bump is going to help District 2, then I'm sorry. Then let's go for a ride again. These are the things that's keeping me up at night.
Yes, sir.
Because out in the media, there's a different ideology. Even with our Sacramento Bee, there's a different ideology, different platforms that some of these writers believe in. And I respect that. You got to respect anyone's opinion about these things. But the fact remains, drive through the district and then call me and ask me about, why am I not 100% for affordable housing only to come to District 2.
I want to because we got about 10 more minutes left for our conversation, and for the last 10 minutes, we have a few questions on the side, a few comments, but we also have a special guest waiting in the room, Ramona Landeros. Do you mind if I bring her in, Sean?
Yeah, bring it in.
All right, Ramona, how you
Good
doing?
afternoon. Good afternoon to you both.
Good afternoon to
Good
you.
afternoon.
How are you, Ramona?
Great, great, blessed.
Yeah. So, did you wrap up? I know it was you had a big festivities over this weekend, the Day of the Dead. I wish I came out and brought a picture of Stefan out there.
Yes,
Because you've always been a very instrumental and influential to our family. You always stood in solidarity with our family, and we
absolutely.
really appreciate you and we thank you for that. Even holding us up in blessings at our Broadway International Festival. So we love and appreciate you for that,
Thank you.
Ramona. So
Love
Ramona,
likewise.
you're a member of the District 2 community, and you lifelong, and you respected and loved in that community as well. What did
Thank
you
you,
think
sir.
about the article, and what did you think about Sean's response since you've been in the back room?
Well, I'm sorry. A lot of the conversation was cutting in and out, so I wasn't able to hear it in its entirety. But when I read the article, I was actually my hair flew back. I was like, how can you not want affordable housing? I get that we have other housing as well, but if you live in this district and you know how many people are sleeping, dying on the streets, how many people need housing, how many people are losing housing, yeah, then that's a problem, because affordable housing absolutely has to be part of the conversation and what we need here in this community. Um, I don't know this reporter, but from what I'm hearing Sean say is that he's wasn't telling the truth, or wasn't only telling the partial truth. Yes, I understand market rate housing needs to happen. We've got quite a bit of it. In fact, many of our folks here in the community who would like to buy those homes cannot afford those homes, and so we absolutely need affordable housing. Is that all we need? No, we need others as well, because that's what's going to help our community thrive. And I always like to call our community a thriving community, because we got one way to go, up. So,
Okay, thank you for that, Ramona. Sean,
mhm.
would you like to respond to that?
Yeah, so going back to what Ramona alluded to, um, when you go through our community, um, and people that are out on the street, which again breaks my heart, the big question I have, there's very little data that we have to see how is this unsheltered population getting added to. So going back to again Ramona's comments, do we need affordable housing? Yes. Is that the only thing that we should promote? Absolutely not. We do need the market rate housing. We need the affordable housing. We need the workforce housing. But the idea that, and when the again the suggestion is that we have too many affordable housings coming to our market rate housing coming to our district. Well, because we have quite a few of affordable housing projects that are going right now in our district. We just had almost over 250 units of affordable housing that they're ready to break ground. I think beginning of next year, so they'll be available the following year. We've had two huge development of single-family housing that were purchased. In fact, even to this day, in the last 6 months, no, I'm sorry, even longer. This whole year, there's still 13 sites in that particular housing that have been available for sale. That we're promoting it because they're affordable. So when you have it all, when you have a good mix and there's a good balance, that's how you can make a robust community. And to kind of follow up on the comment of Ramona that there's only one way to go and that's up. No, I have to kind of, with all due respect, disagree with that, and that no, we can actually go down again. And the past decision makings, we're seeing the result of it today. And if we don't kind of change our tune and just don't try to appease whether they're news outlets or just a group of individual with very extreme ideologies, then we're just going to keep District 2 where it is today, where it was 5 years ago, where it was 10 years ago. And that is not fair to the residents of this district. That's definitely not fair to the youth of this district. And that's what I'm forcing, that's what I'm pushing to change, to make sure that if you and I want to go out on the street at 8 o'clock at night and walk, we walk, which we can right now, by the way,
And
which
then,
we actually can.
and Ramona, you want to? I know he mentioned you a few things. I know you probably want to respond to that. You got.
Yeah.
There you go.
Well, I just want to say, first of all, I know you made a comment about, the schools and children walking, doing, you know, unsafe sidewalks. Yeah, we have a long ways to go.
Mhm.
And yes, we have only up to go, because right now we don't have much. I don't know what schools your children's go to, Sean, or what district your children go to, but I know all
I'm sorry, Ramona, you broke up there, like the very last.
We can't hear you, Ramona. Ramona, I think you're on mute. We can't hear you. You there? We can't hear you, Ramona. I think I have sound issues with her over there. No, we can't. We can't hear you still. You're still on mute. You're still cutting out. No, you try to log out, then come back in. Yeah, log out and come back in. What it sounded like, what Ramona was alluding to, was saying that, oh, we have Don here. Let's answer one of these questions, Sean.
Sure.
These people. It says, can you meet with community members? I think you need to listen to folks most impacted by the policies you don't agree on. You would like to respond to Don, Sean, real quick?
Yeah. Well, first of all, thank you very much, Don. And I'm assuming Don is from District 2.
Yes, sir.
I meet with the community once a month. We have community meetings that's open to the entire community. Once a month, we put that on our social media and we let everybody know. And these policies that Don is referring to, again, I want to be very clear about this. I am not against affordable housing. But if I feel like every developer wants to come to District 2 and only build affordable housing, yes, I have a major issue with that. Because that means District 2, for generation after generation, will be in the same status of income where it is today. It's going to just continue. So not only things will not get better, but things will get worse.
Okay. And then Ramona,
Can you hear me now?
yeah, we hear you fine. And then if you could come back in, the last part you left off where we heard you from, where you said you don't know what kids, what school Sean kids go to.
Right.
That's where you cut out right there.
Right, because we've done all my kids, all my family, all our that go to these schools. We know about the bad sidewalks. We know about the unsafe sidewalks. They're not even they're not prepared for anybody that's on crutches in a wheelchair. So we have to think about that, and that I just wanted to comment on that because I.
Oh, she went out again. Yeah, you went out again.
Am I there?
Yeah, you're back. Now you're back.
Okay. So anyway, I just had that comment. I'm sorry, it just keeps cutting out. But the other thing, I know we keep talking affordable housing, fair market housing, workforce housing, but what about co-op housing? What about talking and looking at other ways of ownership? Because we can't just always, depend on the affordable housing. There's a lot of slumlords. Okay, the way there's bad employers in this community, there's also slumlords, and we have a lot of folks that live in these apartments. What about talking about a bank, bringing a bank that's going to loan families that are low income that maybe cannot afford um, a bank loan? And so, what about looking at that? What about looking at other creative ways of becoming homeowners, not just affordable housing and not just fair market? Because fair market is not fair for many folks in not in this community. Not to say that everybody's of low wealth, but it's even a middle income family right now can't afford those fair market housing.
Yeah.
I've seen houses in Del Paso Heights that, well, are up to $400,000. I mean, that's ridiculous. And so we need to be talking about other ways of financing, other ways of getting people to become homeowners, and maybe buying apartment complexes, being co-oping, because I know that helps. That's other ways that we can begin to help people become homeowners, and not, having the threat of eviction or rent coming up all the time, because that happens. These slumlords continuously increase the rent, and a lot of these apartments are horrible. They're in horrible conditions. And Sean, if you've walked in these apartments like we do, like the Benito Juarez Association does, you'll know what I'm talking about. These families have absolutely no heating or air conditioning in these apartment units.
And they
I
need
mean,
to.
there's
And
just
oh, I'm sorry. So
no.
you're
Go
first
ahead.
of all, the idea that you have, it's a great idea, but it's a legislative idea, right? So that needs to be something that the legislative will pass, whether at state or at federal, to provide loans with a better understanding of the clientele, or a nonprofit can pick up an apartment complex and create
We
that
have no
co-op.
banks here, right? We have no banks here in North
So
Sac. We have
thank
none.
you so much. A perfect. You know what, Ramona? I think I'm going to have you be my speaker from now on. Great point. We don't have banks here. Why is that?
Go ahead, answer.
Well, the question is, a bank, just like any other business, comes and looks at data, see how much deposit will come to their branch. If they think the number of deposits and the amount of deposits is sufficient, then they'll come and invest money and open a bank. And trust me, a bank will never open a branch to help a community. A bank will open a branch to see how much
Let's look
money
at
they can make on it.
let's look at credit unions. They're not the only. Bank of America isn't the only one. Wells Fargo isn't the only one. Let's look at credit unions. Let's look at
Sure.
other ways that housing has been done in other cities. If we're being called the most unaffordable city, then we need to do something about helping people become homeowners. I mean,
Right.
I've been reading where other cities have, okay, just if you're paying your phone bill alone, if you pay that every month, that can build your credit up. And so we need to be more creative and not just look at only one solution to this, because we have a huge problem in District 2. We have a lot of families living together, 2-3 families, sometimes in an apartment, in housing. And so that's unacceptable. If we're talking about trying to get this COVID into control, well, that's just not the way it's going to happen. But we just, there's just so much more that can be done, and I think credit unions could be one of the solutions bringing to North Sacramento.
Absolutely. So
Yes.
I've been in talk with multiple credit unions. And again, even with the credit unions, they're a bank and they're actually getting supported by the major banks, the B of A's, the Wells Fargo's and things like and branches like that. So the big question is, when they want to open a branch, they come and do a survey. What's the average income? How many bank accounts we're going to get? How much deposit is going to be in that bank? And if those numbers won't add up to what they're
Do you have
proposing,
those numbers, Sean? Have you looked into that already? And what are the numbers? What are they saying?
oh, I don't know about theirs, but when I'm approaching them, I've approached two, they said, not right now.
So who have you approached? I'm
I
interested to
can't, I'm
find
not
out.
going to discuss that right now because
Oh, okay.
I'm in continuous talk with them to, um, to convince them that things are changing. They're getting much better. We have that, people are moving in, and we have new developments that are going up, that the landscape is changing in the right direction, and they should invest in the community right now. So, yes, asking them, it's very easy.
I'm just
Convincing them,
curious about the data. Yeah, because I'm
it's
just curious about your data
well, the
that
data
you're
is very
showing
simple,
them.
Ramona. What's the average household income in our district?
Go ahead, tell me. You've got the numbers. You're in
In
the
one zip
office.
code, we have about 30. Another zip code, we have 28. And my district is comprised of these two zip codes.
I'm sorry?
And my district is comprised of these two zip codes only. So between these two zip codes, you have an average of 30 a year and an average of 28 a year.
Hmm.
right? So again,
Hmm.
even as businesses, where I'm trying to talk to multiple business owners, and these are all family-owned businesses that they have sites in other part of Sacramento. That I'm saying, hey, why don't you? This is a, for example, hey, you have great pastries. Why don't you come and open a site on like Del Paso Boulevard? Oh no, there's businesses don't last over there. I hate when I hear that. Well, why don't they last? And you have to kind of look back and say, well, do we have enough people to support businesses? And those people have, are they in an
You're
income?
still here. You're still here in
Barely,
business. So
barely. But look how many businesses have closed, right? And I
mhm.
my business is basic necessity, food, vegetables. Now look how many restaurants have closed in our district. Look how many bars have closed in our district. Look how many
Ramona,
boutiques have
Ramona,
closed in our district.
um, uh, because people watching don't understand. You guys have a little bit of history. In the elections, they don't know you guys actually know each other just a little bit. When it came to the run for District 2, so and then people don't also know. A lot of people might not know that Ramona, school board, community advocate for the people, does a lot of festivals, a lot of everything. She sticks her hands in. But so this is a conversation within District 2, pretty much. And at least because Sean's business is there as well. So, what I want to ask Ramona is because we heard what Sean is working on, what Sean is doing, what keeps him up at night the hardest. Ramona, what would you do differently? What would you do differently? Or what would you, if you're an advisor, if you're a consulting Sean, what would you advice would you give him, or what would you do differently if you were in his shoes?
Well, first of all, I'm not convinced that we could not get a bank here that can help people secure loans to own their own homes, to become homeowners. Because once you have a community that's stable, that's homeowners, the community will thrive. Okay. If you have folks that are renting and that are depending on that landlord, and they're going to be looking at, is their rent going to go up? Of course they're going to leave, and then you're going to get another one. We need to encourage home ownership, at whatever cost, however we do that, however that looks. I'm not convinced that we cannot encourage somebody to come in and help secure loans to these communities. We just have to be on it. We have to be passionate about it, and we have to believe it, and we have to look at other models and other cities and what they've done. And if it's happened in Oakland or other communities like that, it can sure happen here in Sacramento. But it takes that passion and that real belief that yes, we will find a way to help people keep their homes, buy their homes. I've been here, I've seen a lot of my community in the Del Paso Heights community who have lost their homes. And so because they were renters, what do we need to do more to help them become homeowners? You've got to, that's our first and foremost, because then once you have a stable community, then the businesses will come in. Okay. But if it's a renting community, yeah, and I'm talking mainly Del Paso Heights. I know we have the Woodlake area. There's a lot of home ownership there, of course, but we need to just be looking at other alternatives. I'm just not convinced that it can't be done.
But Ramona,
I'm one
with
of
all
those
due
people that,
Ramona, with all due
But,
respect,
but, but
I
hold on,
mean,
hold
you're
on, hold on,
saying,
Sean, hold on, Sean, hold on, Sean. Before do you? I was going to ask you, Ramona. Do you think it's because of Sean's passion he's not able to get this done? Is that what you're saying? I just want to clarify.
well, I don't know. I haven't really seen a lot of what's happening yet with Sean because he's been in office a few months. I just haven't heard new ideas. I haven't heard out of the box ideas. I just think that when you're coming in with a passion, because when you know your community and you've lived in your community, you know the needs, and you know the people personally that have lost their homes. That to me is a passion. Okay. And so to me, if something was to keep me up at night, it would be that Miss Ollie lost her home because of that, or their home was so broken down and there was no repairs. Where are the programs that the city can help? In the past, I know we had programs where they would come and help you repair your homes. And so I just think that my passion is that. And I would like to hear that from you, Sean. I'd like to hear what other things can we do. If this doesn't work, what else can we do? And if that doesn't work, what else? I don't want to hear what our obstacles. I want to hear what are ideas.
sure.
Where are we going
So
besides
to
this?
do to help what you just brought up is how can we bring more businesses into our community that would create more jobs, that would lower our unemployment rate, bring more money into the families so they can afford whatever they want, whether in this district or other districts. But if we want to keep the district at the income level that it is right now, which it has been for the last, well, Ramona, you've been part of this district for all this time. um, it's hard to do anything to improve our district. And when you talk about passion, you can't bring a bank here with passion. You can start a nonprofit organization with passion, accumulate funding through your nonprofit because of that passion that you have, because a nonprofit is supposed to be all about passion and that's it. But when you talk about a bank, businesses to come here, zero passion has to do with it. It has to make sense for them.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're
I
suggesting about a nonprofit that can help these individuals that have hit a hard spot, yeah, we have we so to put this in another perspective, we have $112 million allocated to City of Sacramento from American Rescue Plan. District 2 was the only district that was able to negotiate and win to have 5 million of that money exclusively set aside for Del Paso Boulevard. And actually it's $10 million. The 5 million this year, 5 million next year. Why? Because that's the drop in this ocean that we need to entice other investment to come to that boulevard. It's not a passion. It's that we have to show that the city is spending money. We're looking at this area to grow, to entice other investors to come in and open businesses. So
passion
I am
has
in
to. If you're
order
going to
of what you
fight,
just brought up,
but
but
if
you
you're
need
going to be
to
a fighter, you have to have passion. Okay, and if you're
no,
fighting for your community, you have to have passion. Absolutely.
you cannot, again, there's realistic and there's non-realistic.
Yes.
I agree with you 100%. I think with passion, you can get a lot done. That's why you go and start a nonprofit. And I've supported a lot of nonprofits in our district, even in this short period of time, okay? Because I know that they're boots on the ground and they can make differences. We've had probably a good $1 million that have been distributed amongst the nonprofits in my district in the time that I've been here. Why? Because that's what their key perspective is in, and that's where the key concentration is. So why don't I let individuals that are great at what they're doing, let them, give them the tools and let them perform. But to bring businesses, there's more than passion, because businesses these days, they have access to data, and if the data is not matching it, nobody's going to come and invest $5-6 million because of a passion that they have.
Well, okay, so you were talking about zoning. Zoning is a big issue. I know you probably know what happened on Rio Linda Boulevard when it was zoned for commercial, right?
Our zoning an entire district, Ramona, if you drive around
Yes.
there on Marysville Boulevard, if you go on, let's say, Santa Ana, if you go and drive through side streets from Marysville Boulevard, Norwood Avenue, Del Paso Boulevard, El Monte, you find out that every street is suffering because of incompatible land use. And that's a huge obstacle in front of us. And I wish that if the previous administrations did spend time and focus on that issue, today it would have been a lot easier for District 2 to get back on the track and probably surpass some of the other districts. Because District 2, it's a gem. If you get on Del Paso Boulevard, you get on that RT, takes you straight to downtown. You know why it's so great? Because you can come in my district, get a 2-bedroom apartment for, let's say, $1,500, yet you can work in downtown. All you got to do is jump on an RT and you get there. The same apartment in downtown is $4,000. Same apartment in Land Park is $2,500
Well,
a month.
I haven't seen great apartments in North Sac, so I don't know where you're talking about.
You
But
haven't seen it?
I haven't seen apartments that are that great in North South,
But you know what?
and I mean the
There's
ones
about
downtown
600
are
units. There's
amazing,
about 1,000
amazing.
units that are coming up. You're
Yeah, I
seeing
know
it
what you
every
mean.
time you drive by Arden Mall. You see
Yeah,
about
I've seen
200
those.
units that are going up.
Right,
There's a
right. Yeah.
reason why. Again, these developers are not coming to this district because of emotions and they want to give back. Even even the affordable developers. If you think for a second that they pick District 2 for affordable
Well, they're
housing,
getting kicked. I know they're getting. Of course, they're getting their tax break. Of
oh, of
course, they're getting
course,
tax
not
break.
only
Yeah.
that, but they get their 10% developers fee right off the top. But hey, I am absolutely for, hey, you're coming, you're making an investment, you got to make money. God bless you. You deserve it. But at the same time, we have over 1,000 units that are going up in our North South. About
Hmm.
maybe half of them are affordable housing. The other half are market rate. And I'm very excited about that. And I'm the one that supported all of these projects. Why? There's a good mix. But when you want to come and say, well, the rest of your area should just be affordable housing, no, I have a question. And I will stop that. The same way that initially the city thought that we can have over probably 10, 15 shelters in District 2. And I stopped that. I said, no, we'll have ours, but every district
And,
needs to have their own too.
and Ramona,
That
Ramona,
needs to be a shared responsibility between
Absolutely.
all the districts. Yeah.
so Ramona, because we know there's a lot of disagreements, a lot of things you would do differently. When it comes to Sean stopping those 15 shelters from being in District 2, do you think that was
I'm sorry,
a good
you cut off.
when Sean stopped those 15 shelters coming to District 2? Would you say that was a good move by Sean?
I think if there was a shared responsibility, then absolutely, absolutely, because we have people sleeping in the street all over Sacramento, not just in North Sacramento.
Well, we
If
have a
you
lot
can't
in North
bring, if
Sacramento.
we can't bring the resources, if you can't bring the resources needed to North Sac, but yet the shelters, then that's not a good balance because we barely have the resources for our community. So it would be very difficult, extremely difficult, if not impossible, to try to house as many folks out here. We
But
have to have the resources to match that.
But
Absolutely.
Ramona, if you drive around our district today and you
I
compare
just
our
did.
district to other districts, you will find out that our district, we have the most amount of RVs and
Hmm.
cars that are parked in our district.
Right down the street from me. Yep.
And some of these that, and initially I think, and this is why I love this community so much. Initially, all the residents were all in to help out. But as time has gone by, those same residents now they're going, hey, wait a second, what? Well, we want it, but what happened to that good neighbor policy? We have every one of these RVs, and so nothing against on shelter. I'm very compassionate about that community, and I go out of my way to make sure that community gets help as much as I can. You know, I'm at Roseville
The
Road.
Roseville Road. Yeah. Yeah. I can see that from my house. Right.
Once a week, and I'm very proud to say that. And this is why I say when there's systems that we got to give some credit to our homeless community within the Roseville Road. There are families with children. I mean, that's where I draw the line. When you have children that are homeless or encampment, and through probably 4 or 5 months, I got to know some of these families. Right, number one, the ones that I met, they're from Texas. That they're here. That's irrelevant because now they're just human beings and it's humanity. Well, I'm very happy. I'm very proud to say that one of the dads, I was able to find him a job at $17 an hour. Um, right in my district, there was an apartment complex. They're phenomenal site. It's on Norwood Avenue. We went there. He got an apartment. I actually personally co-signed it for him for 6 months.
That's love.
Right. And so they moved in there, and I'm very, very happy. I'm very proud of this family. I mean, what I did, the value of it is zero. This is what I have to do that as a human
Well,
being.
that's pretty nice that you co-signed, though, man. That was
No,
I
but
mean,
listen. Here's my
but
thing
Sean,
to that.
okay, Sean, here,
Here's
but
hold on one second.
hold on
Hold
a
on one
minute.
second, Ramona.
If you can go
Here's
ahead.
here's the thing. It's irrelevant of me co-signing. It's something that I have to do. Why? I got to know these individuals. And these are individuals that just want to help to get back on their feet, yet they're stuck in these camps for months and months and months because we don't have the services, right? So they get sucked into that environment. So if they don't come out now, guess what's next for the dad? Drugs, because you want to go numb. What dad, what mom wants to sit down while their kids are homeless, right? So to
Okay,
avoid that,
Sean,
you take
yeah,
that extra step. And I'm very proud of this family because mom and dad are both working, the kids are going to school, and everybody's happy. But
okay,
unfortunately, we can't provide
yeah,
this for all of them because 80% need to see inside of a rehab. They need to go and see a doctor because of mental illness. Now, our city thinks, or certain special groups think that affordable housing is the only way that we can end homelessness. And to those groups and those individuals, I say, you know what? Get in your car, actually go to these camps, have a conversation, and find out what is the number one problem before you want to push affordable housing
all right, Ramona.
as
So
the number
okay.
one issue.
I just wanted to say, first of all, I don't know what your point is by saying you helped one family. I find that a little insulting.
No, no,
But
no.
but
My point
I
on
just,
that. No,
well,
no.
no,
Hold
I'll
on a
let you
second.
talk.
And
Let
this
me
is
hold
finish
why.
on,
you
hold on.
talking.
Hold on one
Let me
second.
Let's let her
finish you
talk,
talking.
Sean.
Let me
Let's
finish
let her
you
talk real
talking.
quick, Sean.
Yeah.
I mean, helping one family, okay, that's great, but what about the other hundreds? Okay, we can't go around co-signing for every family. I think the bigger problem here, the bigger picture is what are we going to do about giving them permanent housing? Because even at $17 an hour, let's face it, you're not going to keep an apartment, not in this area, not even a
Oh, they're
house. So,
keeping it just fine, and I'm telling you
well,
that.
okay, at $17 an hour, I'm going to repeat myself. It's not going to go far. Okay. You're still going at some point when that rent goes up, I can guarantee you that family's out of an apartment again. So let's quit talking about the, personal little things that you did. I mean, I can sit here and tell you till the day, to tomorrow what we've done. Okay. But that's not the point. The point here is I want to see what else is going to be done. Okay. You don't, you're saying, well, you don't want that much affordable housing. Okay, I get that. But what else are we going to do? What other resources are we going to bring to help keep those people? How are you working on getting people to become homeowners is another big issue that I'm talking about. And if you don't have some of the information that I'm talking about, I would be more than glad to send you some of the links to what's working in other cities and other underserved communities, not just Sacramento, okay? Because I've done enough research to know that it's doable. Yeah, passion. Yeah, I know you kept harping on passion, passion. You can't do it on passion. No, but you have to have passion when you look out there and you start looking at what else can be done. Because I'm not giving up and just saying, oh, well, since this didn't happen, since this didn't work, then that's it. It doesn't work that way. We have to keep pushing, pushing, and finding solutions, okay?
Sure.
And not giving me reasons why it's not going to work. You can give me 1,000 reasons, but then there's going to be one. I can give you one reason why it can work and how it's worked in other communities.
So I
And
can give you
and
100.
remember, hold on. And remember, there's other communities like in San Diego, like in Seattle, like in Michigan, other places where they've done housing through another means and not just with, we have materials. Yeah, materials have gone up, but I don't know if you've seen those shipping container type apartment housing. That's another solution. I haven't heard people talk about that. I know that there's one guy here downtown who opened up a business in one of those containers. I mean, there's other ways of looking at housing, and some of them look very fancy. You would think you're living in a loft. It's just a matter of, what else is out there? What else have people done? What other things have communities done to get people off the streets or to get them into their own homes to become homeowners? We got to be talking homeowners at this point.
Right. So just to, and I appreciate those comments. Number one, when I use that family, it wasn't to get a brownie point or a pat on back. The reason I use that example is that we have families that are unsheltered, and if we just pay a little bit of attention to them, they can get back on their feet. but that percentage is very little. When we talk about the unsheltered, and I hear it's the housing that's the issue, that the data is in. It's not the housing. We do not, and we have not invested enough in rehab facilities, mental illness facilities. So when somebody has a severe bipolar and we pick that person up and put them in an apartment, and that might make you and Stavante and me feel good, but we've actually damaged that person because that person needs medical attention. We have spent, the city of Sacramento has spent not almost $150 million in the last 2 years. $150 million exclusively on our unsheltered community. We have set aside another $100 million for this year to be spent on the unsheltered community. And I've been a yes vote on those, but yet we have nothing to show for it. Why? So this is a problem, Ramona, Stavante, and whoever else wants to write an article about me. I refuse to be politically correct. I refuse to buy into the sentiments of a particular group with their ideologies. I speak what I see and I present it to my community, and I'm very transparent. If you think $150 million that we've spent till today, and actually more than that, and if we have really nothing to show for it, where Ramona, you yourself, you said we have failed because there are people that don't have housing and they don't have ownership, then the money part is not the issue. It's the implementation of it that's become an issue. It's not a housing that people are becoming homeless. It's the drugs, it's the mental illness that's keeping them out on the street. So for your information, why do we have 800 of our veterans that are homeless today? These are individuals that went overseas. They fought on our behalf on some crazy, unnecessary war. And when they came home, we've turned our back to them. And majority of them are drug addicts. What do you want to do? Put them in a house? You think that's going to solve the problem? No. They need to go to a rehab facility first, and then we can bring them to housing. But that's not a popular, but again, with all due respect, that's not a popular statement. If somebody makes that statement today, they might not be, very popular with a certain group's ideology or certain organizations. I don't play those games because these are people's livelihood that are online. I'm not trying to win a popularity contest. I could care less about that. I'm just trying to make sure that, the people that live in my district, they can have the best life experience possible. I want to make sure on a side, I can do everything in my power to make sure that people that are homeless, that they're safe, that they have whatever means that they need to survive. But I speak my mind when I see an issue.
I really don't think anything wrong with that, Sean. I think Ramona is somewhat wrong with her thing.
Well, here we go. Perfect. Why is the internet so horrible in our district? But think about it, Stavante, right? Why is Ramona's internet keeps going down?
No, it keeps going down.
I'm sorry. He said that to his point. Can you repeat that, Sean, please?
Yeah, I said, you know what? Going back to my point, and with all due respect, Ramona, I'm glad your internet is going down, but let me explain to you. My question was, why is it that her internet keeps going down? Is it that our district is not getting enough of the services that other districts are getting? Are we not bringing the same bandwidth to our district that other districts are experiencing it?
Are you, Sean, you're not losing yours. Where are you?
I'm in my office.
Oh, okay, you guys get the best of downtown.
So,
okay,
but you see what I mean?
No, I get what you're saying.
It's
though.
like, why is our district always looked at as a district that, hey, they're resilient, they can handle the problem. Let's just go ahead. Their businesses are boarded up. That's all right. well, let's go ahead and spend in downtown. And I mean, that was my question. $112 million was getting designated pretty much to go downtown. And then
Mm-hmm.
I kind of in the council, I said, listen, this $112 million is coming in different buckets. $31 million for job training. And I was very clear. I said, make sure we're looking with our equity lens when we're distributing this money, because we got to distribute in areas which has the highest unemployment rate, right? So when we have these buckets, my push is how much of these buckets money are going to be distributed and invested in District 2? Because in the past, it hasn't. If we can build a $500 million arena, which I have no problem with, right, then we should be able to do some exciting things in other parts of our city, like District 2.
All right. So
when there is a legislation that gets passed by the state that says any property owned by any city in California has to be declared to the state of California, so the state can pass them on to their registered affordable housing developers to the first pick of these properties in every city, I have a problem with that legislative. That's a racist legislative. That's a discriminative legislative that has been passed by our elected officials. Because majority of the time, if you look at any city where the city owns the most amount of properties, are in low income areas.
And then Ramona, I want to let you
Which we have lots of
right.
empty lots
So if
in
the
North
state
Sacramento.
passes a legislation that says, hey, city of Sacramento, if you own any property, it has to go through our affordable housing developers first. And if they don't want it, then you can figure out what you want to do with it. That's a that legislative is racist.
Well, and there's a lot of environmental racism. I mean,
Of
air quality.
course.
We can go on and on and on here in North Sacramento. But I also like to talk about, just mention that co-op housing also works. I mean, there's other solutions. But go ahead, Stevante, you had a question.
Yes. Because we're kind of showing time is 5:30. That's our mark, our 5:30 time. And I wanted to ask you guys each one more question before we get out of here. And that is a actionable item. It's an actionable item. So my last question to you both, because I love you both so much and I love District 2 so much. And I think we all love District 2 and want the best for District 2.
Yes,
I think we all want
absolutely.
the best for our community. And whether it's more businesses, more market rate housing, a lofty
farmers markets, fresh produce, something.
Affordable housing that look like lofts, like downtown, like good. We don't want just no Ramsey raggedy affordable. I want something that looks good and smells good and feels good, So we want to beautify it. Beauty is basic too.
Thank you.
Beauty is basic. It don't take that much.
No, it doesn't.
Not at all. So what I want to ask you two both, because the housing issue is it's more complex.
It's layered. It's complicated. Yeah. It
is. Is there any way we could do a town hall meeting style in District 2, open to the public, with absolutely. Ramona Landeros and Shauna Loloee, and to really get the conversation town hall style, moderated by yours truly, but to really get you guys out there in front of the people so they can ask the questions directly to you guys, whether it be from the community's perspective, from you, Ramona, as a lifelong community resident and advocate for District 2, and for you, our elected official, Councilmember Loloee, who represents us as well. I think both of you guys in the town hall setting is exactly what the people need. And I think we haven't had that much engagement and dialogue with all the COVID and all that. But with just the dialogue I'm getting through my chats alone, they want you guys to keep talking, okay? And it's literally been an hour and 15 minutes. So we need to expand this dialogue is what it tells me. And
I would love to.
I'm definitely open to that. Okay. But as I said,
but we need to hear from the community. Absolutely.
Yes,
we need
to hear from the community.
I have had multiple. First of all, I have my meetings online, well, Zoom, if you want to call it. But I do agree, town hall has a whole different meaning to it every month. So we've had meetings. Addition to that, we've had meetings about our sheltered community. We've had meetings about the sites that I picked for safe parking. I want to make sure the community is okay with that. So to engage the community, that's 100% what I'm all about. One thing that I ran was 100% transparency. So anything that I'm telling you is exactly what I share with my community. So when this $112 million came about, the first thing I did, I ran and literally reached out to people and say, there's $112 million out there. Here are your buckets. Pick which one fits your organization and make sure you apply.
It's
Right?
the first we hear about it. So, okay.
Well, again, I'm not familiar with your organization, but I've reached
You're
out
not?
to,
We've
no,
been
I'm not.
around 7 years. We're the largest and the only Latino Spanish speaking association. By the way, it got taken off your website. I don't know what happened, but it's on the city website, but it got taken off G2. So I
Yeah.
just want to
So
let you know that.
the
So
minute
I'll make sure I send you the information so you can put it back on your website,
yeah, if you could send me the information and
if you would,
some of the
please.
activities that you've been involved, that would be great. I appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
But it comes down to is I've met with every association on regular basis. We meet once a month. Then there's the D2 leaders. I meet with
Accept
them
that.
once a month,
I,
right? So
and now I think
Accept that.
us now you got I think now moving everybody love everybody. Moving to that spirit of love. I think that our next town hall forums, even though Sean has been out there, even though Ramon has been out there, Stevante's been out there, I think us coming out there together for District 2 shows a higher level of not just passion, but love. You know, us all coming together, even though we might not agree with each other on all levels, we can still come together for the best of our community because right now the community is watching us and they want to further this dialogue in person. They want to have more of the conversation in person with the three of us. We probably all been around and doing our community events individually, but I think to have a town hall with the Clarks, the Landeros, and Lololees will be amazing, not just for the community, but for the future of District 2. I think we need to see leadership come together and have these dialogues and these peaceful conversations pertaining to actionable items. My thing is, we all know the problem, but damn it, what are the solutions? What are we going to talk? When are we going to talk? There's solutions. So I want to involve the community more. Sean, you've been doing an amazing job with your Zoom and your town hall meetings once a month. Ramona, you've always been doing an amazing job with your engagement with the community, and I'm going to keep doing my engagement piece. But I think us together doing this a good one time, probably this month. It's the beginning of November. I'll try to pick a date. I'll send it to you guys. See if you guys are open for that day, and we'll invite the community, and I'll sponsor the food, and we could do something nice, you know, just for our community in District 2, because I think that this conversations need to be had with the community involved, with all of us inviting our communities and the people that support us to the same platform, the same speaking arena. I'm gonna let you guys all both get one more point out, one more word before you guys go, and then we're gonna close it up. But so your last final thoughts from Ramona first, ladies first, and then final thoughts to Councilmember Lololee.
I thank you. Well, no, I just appreciate you both having me on today. I think it's important that we get the dialogue going. Yes, I do have passion, but I also have solutions. I also know that there's got to be other ways of bringing District 2 up from where we're at and bringing the resources, the absolutely needed resources here in this community. I'm in it for the long run, and I'm not going anywhere. So thank you very much.
All right. And Lololee, final word, council member.
Hey, I really appreciate it. Thank you very much, Ramona. It's great seeing you again. And Savanta, I appreciate you for creating this platform. It's very simple. The days of District 2 being this district that we come to it when we have time, or we come to it when we have some resources, or depending on who represents it, if they're all in, we'll pay some attention. If they're not, we kind of mosey on. I like to think that very soon those days are going to be over for District 2. District 2 is a very vibrant district, and it has a lot of potential. It has the potential not only to make the life for the existing residents very healthy and good, but it also has the potential of bringing new residents that can also jumpstart the economy of District 2. So when I look at District 2, I look at it as it's a district that it needs a lot. When it comes to housing, there has to be a balance between affordable workforce and market rate. That will encourage businesses to come to this district. So guess what? Our high rate of unemployment is going to drop. People are going to make more money. The people that have owned their houses for God, I have some wonderful residents that they lived in their house for 70 years. 70 years. Talk about when they decide, when they're done, and I, God forbid, I want everybody to live until they're 200. But just imagine a house that was purchased $20,000 at one point, and now that house is worth $400,000. And talk about generation of wealth pathing through generations. Well, this can be a great start that we can move forward. But the only way we can do that, we also have to upgrade our district. We have to increase the demands from our residents. Where if the expectations were down here, we need to bring the expectations right here with the rest of the districts. Mm-hmm. You drive through my district, and you drive through District 1. You tell me if you see any difference. The rest of the districts. You drive through my district.
No, I agree.
And that's all I'm saying. That my job is to work as hard as I can to make sure I'm very transparent, bring all the information to the community, and also help the community to move forward. Mm. So, and the only thing that I didn't like about that article was that, if you're going to quote me on the whole thing. Don't just pick one word. And don't ever use the word cannabis and make it synonymous with the only entrepreneurship opportunity that Black and brown business people can have. That's an insult.
Mm. Thank you, Sean, for those final comments. I appreciate it. Thank you, Ramona, for your final comments.
Thank you.
I appreciate you both. Thank you for being on a special edition of Conversation with Mr. Clark. I'll be contacting you both later on when it comes to pertains to venue for that town hall meeting and time and dates for that, because I want this to be in District 2 and I want the entire District 2 out there, like the entire District 2 out there.
Just do me a favor when you want to, as you know, we're planning a huge Christmas party in this district. So yeah. I'll coordinate the dates with you to see if we were going to have it before or after.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you so much. And I'm glad we're having the conversation as the Christmas time's coming, because this is when it gets crazy. It gets cold and it gets wild, and it's the season of giving, and we want to be able to give them some actionable items. So thank you both for your time. Thank you both for always being gracious to spend time with me and have a conversation with me whenever it's regarding community or anything, and I'll call you for. So I love you both, and I thank you for always answering.
Thank you so much. All right. Have a wonderful day.
All right, guys. Bye-bye. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining a special edition of Conversations with Mr. Clark. Now, a lot to unpack there. A lot to unpack. So much to unpack, because this housing crisis is not just ABC, okay? It's more complex than you can actually think of. There's so many different types of housing, and California is one of the richest and poorest of all economies. It's the sixth richest economy in the world, okay? But we're still the richest and poorest at the same time. We have the highest number when it comes to homelessness here in California. We have the most unaffordable when it comes to the housing market, So we really have a lot of work to do when it comes on our housing issues, when it comes on policy and legislative change, when it comes to policing. The reason I wanted to have a conversation is because I don't believe we have enough conversation around the homelessness. And I'm going to continue to be vocal and to be an advocate about the homeless crisis here in Sacramento. It is one that we cannot be quiet about. I will not be silent about. So I'm going to do this town hall meeting in District 2. If you don't know where District 2 it is, it's in Del Paso Heights. In Del Paso Heights, I love Del Paso Heights because Del Paso Heights is underdeserved, it's underdeveloped, it's underfunded, it's at risk, it's high risk, and it's so many things that needs to be done within that community that we need to, as a people, connect with, combine with, and help with. So as long as I'm here, as long as I'm alive, and as long as I'm pushing, I will continue to fight for Del Paso Heights. Shauna Loloee is somebody that's a good friend of mine. Ramona Landeros is a good friend of mine. I love them both, and they're both passionate. But like we said multiple times, passion without direction is chaos, and passion with direction is purpose. We have a Sac 6 program here, and we believe it finally. We believe it in our soul, in our hearts, and in our minds. And it's simple. And anybody can learn the Sac 6 because it's not like it's hard, okay? So our first thing within our Sac 6 program is, number one, bridge the gap between law enforcement and at-risk communities. We believe before you bridge the gap between law enforcement and at-risk communities, you must first bridge the gap between community and community. There's no way we can expect this oppressive system to quit killing us when we are still killing each other. I said earlier today on a radio interview that we have to quit killing each other. We have to quit killing each other. The most important thing we could do for each other is be available. Let's be available for one another. Let's understand one another. Let's be non-judgmental. So let's come together and bridge the gap between community and community, so that way we can bridge the gap between law enforcement and at-risk communities. Number two, inform and educate on policy and legislative change. The word inform means to give facts. The word educate means to give moral, social, or intellectual instruction. Policy and legislative change is legacy on paper. Inform and educate on legacy on paper, which is policy and legislative change. If you are not giving me the facts, if you're not teaching me morally, intellectually, or instructionally, I do not need you in my circle. Inform and educate on legacy on paper. Everything I do is for legacy, okay? I am a walking monument. I love legacy, okay? Number three is provide resources and healing spaces for those in need in our community. God damn it, we need the resources and we need the healing spaces. You cannot have the resources without the healing spaces, just like you cannot have the healing spaces without the resources. They go hand in hand, just like SB 1421 and AB 392. You cannot have transparency if you do not have accountability. It go hand in hand. What good is me seeing you cheating on me if I can't hold you accountable for cheating on me, okay? So transparency and accountability goes hand in hand, just like the resources and the healing spaces. You cannot give me the resources if I'm not healed, and don't heal me if you ain't putting no money in my pocket. They go hand in hand. Give a man a fish, he eat for a day. Teach a man how to use the internet, you may never hear from him again, okay? Number four is the most important to me. It is commemorate the life and legacy of my ongoing brother, Stefan Alonzo Clark, so that his name may live on in a positive light for generations and generations and generations and generations and generations and generations, long, long, long after you and I have left this earth. We do that by having Harambe festivals, by the Stefan Clark Middle School, by Justice Tree, which is our own cannabis line owned by our mother. My mother owns this cannabis called Justice Tree, and it's owned by a Black woman, Sequette Clark. She owns her own cannabis line. So, this is how we commemorate life and legacy in a positive light. Our Justice and Accountability March coming on March 18th. You need all to be a part of it, the Justice and Accountability March. That is how we as a family commemorate life and legacy in a positive light. Yes, we have our own resource center, Stefan's house. Yes, we have our own cannabis, Justice Tree. Yes, we have our own party buses. Yes, we have our own law. Yes, we have a middle school coming out next year. Yes, we have our own playground. Stefan's legacy will live on for generations and generations because we are dedicated to commemorating his life in a positive light, okay? Number five, I don't have all the answers. I will never say I have all the answers. I will never claim to have all the answers. That's why we need you, the people, on receiving recommendations on how to prevent Stefan's from ever happening again, okay? We might not be ready to forgive these officers, these killer cops. We not be able to go out there and start our own and build our own de-escalation tactical teams. But what we can do, what we can promise you is that we're going to work our asses off to prevent Stefan's from ever happening again. And number six, God damn it, the golden rule, the golden gospel, I live my life on it, is spreading the gospel of love. Because if you look at John 15:12 in the Bible, it says, love each other as I have loved you. And if you skip down to John 15:18, in that same Bible, it says, if the world hates you for it, know they hated me long before they ever hated you. Okay, so that's John 15:12 to John 15:18. And that's why our golden gospel is to spread the gospel of love. Everybody love everybody. That's our story, and we're sticking to it. Thank you for joining Conversations with Memphis Clark with our special guest, Sean Loloee. Thank you all for being here and joining me. I appreciate it. Like I said, everybody love everybody. I'm going to release this conversation live so you guys can watch it over and over and over and share it and join the conversation when it comes to homelessness, transitional housing, affordable housing, and housing in general. But I want you all to join the movement, not the moment, by going to www.iamsacevents.org, because you want to be a part of something that's bigger than yourself. Like I said, again, thank you all for joining me. And this has been an awesome conversation. And if you want to join the movement, not the moment, please send me a direct message. I love you all. Make sure you join the movement, not the moment, at www.iamsacevents.org. Have a good evening. All right.